So Jupyter Hub Nginx CHP. So is this solution able to talk to Nginx through Python?
No, it's not. It re-implements the REST API in a Lua extension to Nginx. It's basically an Nginx config that implements the PHP REST API. As far as Jupyter Hub is concerned, it is the proxy.
Wow. So you can still talk to Nginx through Python, but through the REST API. So
yeah,
it's
as far as Jupyter Hub is concerned, it's exactly it doesn't know that you're using a different proxy.
Wow. And is the handling of the key the same?
Yep.
Wow. The proxy auth token. Wow.
Yeah.
And do we have any sense of sort of how that improves the scalability?
He was working on actually having this across many Nginx instances yesterday afternoon. And he was working on actually having many machines doing the same.
Yeah, you need to do some shim for the REST API, which is really means it shouldn't actually have any better scalability than configurable than the regular proxy, because you still need a shim for the API. So I'm not actually sure it improves anything.
Okay. What's the motivation then if just simplicity of only having Nginx in front rather than Nginx in front of config HTTP proxy?
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I'm not actually sure what it solves.
Yeah, as far as I understood yesterday, installing Node everywhere for Wiki Media Labs is hard, while they already have Nginx pretty recent deployed. And so then it's just extending the configuration, which is much easier to sell, and it's technology they already know. So it's easier. And if I understood correctly also, he has some plan for scalability where he's more confident than many Nginx could handle for, like, I don't remember, distributed etcd where when you update configuration, all the proxy get updated. I haven't followed quite well. Yeah.
So Damian, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. Do you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. So why don't we go ahead and get started? I think it probably makes sense for me to start with a quick overview of where the pull request is. The pull request that's linked there on the hackpad, this is the NbExtensions 4.x improvements hackpad. It's a fully working implementation of the design that we talked about last time. What I mean by that is that I've changed the config manager that's being used by the handler, the HTTP handler, to load config from all locations and save config just to the user's config. And hi, Peter.
Hi, sorry.
Yeah, and that's done in a way that's API compatible with the old config manager, and basically instantiates an older config manager for the different paths that we need to load and save config to. And then on the other side, I've improved the command line usability of the Jupyter NbExtension subcommands. I made the logging a lot nicer, and then also improved the help situation. And so it's just a much more pleasant user experience for working with these things at the command line. And then the other thing I did is added a flag that allows you to install and activate NbExtensions that are located in Python packages. And the way that I'm discovering those is through a function that a Python package has to implement if they want to expose these NbExtensions, called _Jupyter _NbExtension _paths. And it basically returns a dictionary of metadata declaring where its NbExtensions are relative to that package. And it works. We've tested it on a couple of the NbExtensions that John wrote, sort of as demos, and it works really nicely. I think the way that the config loading and saving is done, as long as we like that idea, there's not much question about how to do it. It's a fairly straightforward thing. The only part of this that I think we need to make a sort of a very careful reasoned decision on is this special function that we're relying on in the init.py, and if we wanted to move to set up tools entry points instead. That's to me the crux of it, and I think this is something we want to live with for a number of major releases, if not beyond that, and so we don't want to make a decision that we regret. So I think that's my main review of that. I don't know, Damian or Nick, do you guys want to sort of go over how your thinking on all this stuff has evolved over the last month?
Well, essentially, I was testing some days ago and yesterday the PR, and it's working pretty nice. I didn't mention in the PR itself, but it is missing the editor section in all the things. But that is something we need to fix. No problem. And it is working nice. It is nice also that with the config manager you cannot write or save the things in other places than the user config, but from the Python side there is a 6 prefix argument, so you can pass that argument with the path to the environment, and then we can install and enable the extensions on a conda-based package, and it is nice. So I am pretty happy with the PR. I think the mechanisms to read the metadata and use this Jupyter and the extension path is nice. I like it. I didn't try to port some of the extensions to that mechanism yet, but I think it's nice as now. I'm not sure if using an entry point is something that we really need or we really want. That's the summary of my thoughts.
Okay. Peter, how about you? Any thoughts on this setup tools entry point versus explicit method in the init file for declaring the NbExtension in a Python package?
Yeah, I think we actually just moved a lot of the incubator extensions away from doing things with entry points. We actually had someone come and file a defect, sort of complaining, let's say nicely, about how we're doing things, and we moved to doing things more the NbGrader way, which I think is more in line with what you were saying, the init py. I think there was a hint at some point too, though I'm trying to dig up the reference, that the entry points in setup tools might be going away at some point. I heard someone mention. I'm trying to find where I read that, so it feels a little dangerous to me to go back to that. And I like the more explicit nature of like, you just declare it in your own package. Don't worry about what setup tools is doing and what features it supports. This is a Jupyter thing, so I see no reason to tie it to setup tools for any reason.
Yeah,
Okay.
if we can avoid setup tools, but that is a major. But yeah,
I think I think the only advantage entry points have is it gives you the discoverability of you can have a list available extensions command.
You don't have to start importing things to find it.
Yeah, so for loading them, I don't think it has any advantage. I think it's really just a way to express an alias to a module anyway, so they're basically equivalent. But the entry points gives you the like show available extensions.
I mean, I'm fine having entry points if it's optional. Like if there is extra features like auto discoverability with entry point, I think it's nice. But if we could not rely on that, it would be nice too. And you don't need setup tools to do entry points. Like Flit does it, and Thomas has its own entry point module that allow to do things with entry points, regardless of having setup tools. But still, it's Python only. So I don't know, but I wouldn't be opposed to having just extra features with an entry point.
But if you think the listing available things, the available entry points is important, then I think entry points is valuable. If not, then I would go with the setup tools free version, just because setup tools is always a nightmare mess, no matter what.
Yeah, exactly.
So if we're not going to implement the list available entry points right away, then I wouldn't bother doing it with entry points.
Yeah, I think because the whole idea of the 4.x NbExtension stuff right now is not a long-term solution. Like we're going to have to reconsider all this for 5.x npm Jupyter Lab stuff. I'm less worried about that. If this was going to be the long-term solution for all eternity, then I actually think it would be nice eventually to have the ability to discover that stuff. But I'm hoping this stuff goes away. Not that it will go away, but that the new stuff becomes much more capable and on a shorter time scale that we start to have that capability there.
My only thought on it is, having looked at it back in NB Viewer, and I did a toy implementation with NB Convert. It was not good. There really is there's a value to the discovery, if only for that I'm running a command line. Here's what I could do, or I tried to do this and it didn't work, or whatever. So those things before you're ready to do the configuration step, this would at least let you know, hey, you can't configure that because it's not installed yet. So I am pro them because they are not only discoverable at runtime, but they're also a thing that would be discoverable from deployed package or built packages at rest on PyPy. And so now you would have a canonical answer to what extends Jupyter. Let me go search PyPy, or a layer of searching. Someone clones it and pulls it out once, because that's the kind of way that I feel like we would be able to move forward on a bunch of the, like that thing I put together for the kernels page, right? Like the maintenance of that kind of data for the amount of of differentiation that we're seeing in the environment, we really got to move it into data. And you could do that with magic named functions too, you know. So I think either one or the other, having both, or having both, but you have to implement the magic named function, right? Like you.
So one question for non-Python kernel, I have an echo. Oh, yeah, sorry. Can they be registered, like list something in entry points, or do they have to have an extra Python package installed to say, hey, I'm installed also and I'm not Python?
So 4.x doesn't in any way address this.
So it's just that for the kernel things, I don't see how it helps listing, or I misunderstand something.
Yeah, no, this is definitely a Python specific Band-Aid solution.
Yeah.
That the long-term solution is with the NPM stuff.
Exactly. That's why I'm less worried about the long-term other language questions, because I think our long-term answer is more and more becoming, we're just going to embrace NPM for front-end code. And so we'll have to figure out what that means for us and exactly how we implement everything. But I don't, after everyone's been working with it for quite a while now, I think everyone is very, very happy with that universe. So I'm not opposed to setup tools. I think I have a lot of scar tissue, emotional and mental scar tissue around setup tools. So I'm very hesitant.
So again, you can do entry points without setup tools.
Yeah, but I think
it depends whether using setup tools is more pain than actually maintaining other packages that use entry points.
The skeptic in me wants to say, if setup tools can't be implemented by many people using it all day for years without screwing it up, what makes us think that we could implement some small little code that does entry tools without us messing it up even more?
Because it already exists, and setup tools does hundreds of more things, and it has a lot of legacy behavior.
Normally I would probably accept that argument, but I'm hesitant with setup tools. That's sure. And I will admit,
if the thing we implement for 4.2 is also a temporary measure, I don't see the problem with potentially using a new tool which will be temporary too, especially if this tool already exists.
Yeah. To me, I think if we're kind of 50-50, I would say the tiebreaker is not setup tools, just because of its history of ruining the universe.
Okay.
Just tie goes against setup tools.
Okay, so there's
if we're ambivalent, I would say go against setup tools. But
okay, so that's the prior in this decision, that basically no setup tools unless the data strongly outweighs that prior.
Yeah, that's my feeling, with at least with my, like you said, the scar tissue of working with setup tools over the last several years.
How do people feel about that?
One thing I guess I'd like to see as we move forward is either already demand that people that use this mechanism also have a package.json and read things off of the package.json instead of saying you must have a main.js, you must have a whatever, right? So that's a way that we can start to virtuously encourage the use of NPM, and it's already established, however faulty it is an established metadata format that, is not code. It's not It's not going out and doing things to the universe. It's just there's a name and there's a description and there's a repo, and that's all the data we need to do all of this discovery stuff that we want to do. So it's just a question of when you get to where you are distributing more than one package or more than one NB extension in a Python package, that might get a little bit messier. But I would point at that route. I would point at, here are routes where you can go find package.json to then read and find where the thing is that you want.
Yeah. So we the example packages that John posted to PyPy, all the JavaScript code is implemented as an npm package, and so I like those examples because they start to embrace this new universe, even though it's still using the existing approach.
Yeah, this
and
is
I
really
don't remember if John's reading.
The only thing that this is doing is giving a Python API for discovering the files.
Yeah.
Right, that's the only extension.
And bundling those and putting those files along with the Python package, so they get installed in somewhere that is discoverable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like John's lightsaber package. NPM requires the audio JavaScript library that he's using to play the lightsaber sound. So it's a full embracing of the NPM packaging stuff. So I'm in favor of that. It's not my decision to make. Is everyone? I just want to make sure that we do have consensus on this approach.
Yeah, that seems fine.
Okay. Nick and Matthias, are you guys okay with this?
Yeah, I'm fine. I mean, if we can have it also working without entry points, just to test if people, what kind of approach people use, like explicit configuration, I think that would be nice. But if not, it's fine with me too. I mean, anyway, I'm not using too much extensions these days, so I don't think my input on that is too much of importance.
Okay. And then, so in terms of next steps, so Damian, you brought up the idea that we should make the editor page, the text editor page, NB extendable as well. So I can add that. What else? I can actually some minor API question. The command line flag to do this stuff with a Python package, should it be -- Python or -- Py? I don't.
Why not both?
Have it.
Yeah, both. I guess.
Okay. Great. Okay, I can do that. Let's think. What else needs? I'm wondering what else needs to happen before this would be sort of final reviewed and merged and start to think about a 4.2 release with this.
My main question, so this is meant to address the issue of installing global server extensions. Right? Not extensions that are related to the kernel.
It's a couple different things. One is installing extensions in locations other than the user. That could be either system-wide or sys.prefix.
Enabling, you mean?
Yeah.
Because installing already is system-wide.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Although, yes, exactly. Yeah, so the enabling, both the enabling at the command line and then the loading of those enabled points through the NB config stuff.
And so I think my only question is one of the problems that we talked about, in particular relating to widgets, is that I think someone specifically talked about a lot at the dev meeting that we just kind of dropped the ball on, is installing extensions associated with the kernel. So like I have a kernel, a Python kernel with this version of the widgets, and I have a different Python kernel with a different version of the widgets. Are we planning to have any answer? It's technically possible to load JavaScript, to put to use kernel.js and put JavaScript files in there and use local require calls to get JavaScript, but there are no APIs for putting files there. There are no APIs for loading extensions from there. That's one of the things that we said we would tackle a year ago, but we haven't. And I mean, it is already an issue because like I have a whole bunch of Python kernels for testing different versions of things, different versions of IPython, but I can't test different versions of the widgets.
Right.
Should we have a special? Do we already have a special require path that allow to load things from the current kernel location?
No, but so you could basically use relative path loading in kernel.js. You could assume that the files are next to it. You can require files from that directory. So if you did like in your kernel.js require /extensions foo.
Yeah, but I think if we do one of the other, if we do installing in kernel specific location, in kernel specific directory, we should have a specific require path that's dynamically changed when you change kernel and is the right thing.
Yeah, I think we can do that. So I guess my main question is addressing that within scope for this? Do we want to have an answer for that within scope for this project?
I would say that we need the experience of seeing how already like server-wide extension. The API we will come up with will probably have issues and we will get feedback from users. And worst case, we do that for 4.3.
Yeah.
So another thing, so rather than having a required JS path, we could specify, in the case of widgets, modules with non-module node package names, and load them dynamically, so that it doesn't have to be in a specific path. The model module and view module widget attributes could be, rather than being required JS path, could be node package names.
Well, then it sounds like it makes, at the very least, a solution to this is a separate project.
Yeah, that's my feeling.
And we can either try to do it for a 4.3, or if for some reason, if Sylvan wants to work on it and get it done really fast, maybe it'll.
or maybe
just hold it till 5.0.
Maybe the per kernel extension will be a server-side global extension that allow you to do that.
I mean, if we're talking explicitly about versions, can we just do versions? Like, can we, when you install this thing, because you have a package.json, it has a version number already specified in a single place, and just install it right there, with the prefix.
If we install with versions, then that could address the issue that like I have this kernel, it loads matplotlib JavaScript 1.2.5, and I have this kernel, it loads matplotlib JavaScript 2.5.6, and they're installed globally, but in version sensitive paths. So when you load a specific version, it loads. I don't know the details of asking for a specific version, but
that's what I meant earlier. That's when we have a package name plus version.
Yeah, and I should note that that's our plan for handling this in 5.x.
Okay, as long as we've got and I'm fine with this only coming in at the 5.x level. I want to make sure that when we're coming up with the new version, it is possible for me to have two kernels with different versions of the same JavaScript package.
Absolutely, that's really important.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Michael Bloodboom from the Matplotlib team was also asking for it, and I don't know whether he had any other requirement for kernel-specific extensions, but sounded like it was the same as for widgets. But
yeah, I mean, basically what he wants to make sure of
about
is
version match.
Exactly, version matching. That was the main feedback he had.
So can we just do that? If you're using this new mechanism, you have a package JSON. In the package JSON, it has to have a version, it has to have a name, it has to have a main file. There, you're done.
And then the loading has to be able to load, like the when you do something that asks for that JavaScript, it has to be able to do it in a version specific way.
Yeah, I don't.
Like you have to be able
I
to
honestly don't. I'm pretty skeptical that we could do that in a. I think it would be non-trivial to do that in a way that's fully backwards compatible.
I mean,
we would
do that
basically
right now. Like if I've got my JavaScript package and I installed it, I did Jupyter NbExtension install, and it installed in the path, matplotlib/123. Like if it installed in a directory where the actual path included the version number, I could require it.
You get into issues where package will likely require greater than 1.5.
Yeah.
They will rarely require a specific version.
Well, that's not true for something like matplotlib, where it's trying to require its own JavaScript counterpart. That should always be an exact match. That's never going to be
the other issue
dependency.
Yeah, so the other reason I don't think we don't want to go this way is that right now extension authors basically have to use Webpack or Browserify to expose their top level JavaScript bundle to us, and because of that, there's no you can't have one NB extension relying on the JavaScript code of another NB extension. And I don't want to suggest to people that this is actually NPM, lest they think that cross-loading NB extensions that require each other is going to magically work. It will completely fail and not work at all. And so I think that's why.
Definitely. I've never.
Let's wait till we have real NPM.
Yeah, I've never written an NB extension that looks outside itself.
Right.
All of mine are purely local, which I think is given the kind of given the nature of the solution we have right now, I think that's appropriate.
Where this would come up immediately is matplotlib, depending on a particular matplotlib's JavaScript NB extension, depending on a particular version of the widgets NB extension.
Yeah.
And that can't, I think we should not, we're going to have to live with this a little longer until we have a full NPM-based solution that handles it all properly.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's all. Does anyone have anything else they wanted to run through? I've got another meeting here in just a second. Damian and Nick, I think we can work on our end to finish up the pull request, and then we would just love code review and testing before it gets merged.
Yeah. I will try to make a dev review and testing any iteration, so we can go fast on that.
Okay.
And either once it lands, guys, or while it's still in the PR, I don't know which way you want to go. I mean, we could take a crack at trying to port one of the incubator extensions, which are reasonably complicated in what they install server side, JavaScript side, see if it works.
That'd be great.
Give you feedback.
At any point, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, guys. Thanks so much, and see you online.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. See you.
Bye.